right, welcome everybody. Welcome to I call them fireside chats. It's more of a Web 2 or even predating Web 2 term for a get together of a bunch of people who are interested to know a little bit more about a business. We are very happy to have with us tonight two gentlemen from Robot Sea Monster, Daniel Verrico and Ryan Abrams, and we'll do little introductions here right away. But just to give you a little bit of a backstory, this is the development company who MyGeoTokens is going to be building with. And for those of you that have been a part of a bunch of our AMAs and Twitter Spaces, you'll know that the reason why I thought this was the best path for MyGeoTokens was it was really our lowest risk play to go with someone who was proven, legitimate, and a solid, more than anything else, a solid track record of Web3 builds. And what I really liked about Robot Sea Monster is they're a Web3 gaming company, and I see MyGeoTokens as a bit of a game. It's a geospatial game, really. So with that, maybe we'll start with Daniel. Daniel is Daniel Verrico. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, give a little bit of background, how you found Web3, and tell us a story about crypto if you want.
I'll tell you a story. Absolutely. Yeah, well, so I'm celebrating my third year this month in the world of NFTs. Was in crypto before that, but I got bitten by the NFT bug in January of 2021 during the pandemic. Spent thousands of hours on Clubhouse buying NFT from artists and other new friends that we audio chatted with when we couldn't go outside or couldn't see other people. And it was a crazy time when we were collecting NFTs. My business partner at Metabate, which is my NFT tech company that I started about 2 months later, because the NFT folks, the NFTs that we were collecting from people were on the OpenSea shared smart contract. And they were like, hey, you guys are tech guys. Can you help us write custom smart contracts so we could own our own stuff and have royalties and things like that? And so we started Metabate 3 years ago and did a bunch of different NFT projects for all different kinds of artists and communities. And it was a really fun time. And then about a year ago, then I partnered with Robot Sea Monster because they were doing Web3 games and we weren't doing games. We were just doing Web3, like NFT drops and minting dApps and things like that. And so we found there was a synergy between us. And so we were partners for a while. And then Josh Rose, the founder of Robot Sea Monster, he founded the company 12 years ago. And he's a game designer. He comes from 30 years of designing games. And he didn't want to, he wanted to focus on that fun stuff, tokenomics and gaming and compulsion loops and making things really interesting and not so much about running the business. So he said, hey, why don't you come join me and you can help me run this company and I can focus on the game side and you can focus on the business side. And I said, all right, well, do I still get to talk about NFTs? He said, absolutely. I said, I'm in. So I've been here a year and working with Ryan. It's super exciting. We're doing all different kinds of things. We're doing Web 2 games, we're doing Web 3 games, we're doing apps. So it's a really exciting time. But Ryan was here. He's been here about 6 years. I guess I'll let him do a little bit of an intro. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been let's see, where do I even begin? I've been in tech forever. In the past, I've briefly run a Linux distribution for a while, did a lot in open source, built up some web communities around alternative operating systems. My background's in full stack and server development. I joined Robot Sea Monster almost 7 years ago now. We were working on a project as a studio called Brooklyn Microgrid, which was pretty early blockchain, trying to do hyper-local energy trading in Brooklyn, believe it or not, but it ended up deploying to a few other communities. So people who had solar panels would sell tokens representing their excess energy and they could trade with each other directly. And the studio had started out in gaming and had gotten into making this app and getting involved with blockchain pretty early on. And they were using the tech they had and it wasn't scaling well. So I've known Josh for a long time. He asked me if I could come on board and we got that sorted out and then dove into all sorts of stuff. Since then, it's been games, full stack apps, usually a lot of hybrid type of applications. So apps that need gamification, or can we mix blockchain with gaming and AI and all sorts of different things. We do well where we're taking different cutting edge stuff and bringing it together. In terms of crypto, my interest in it has been primarily about the tech. Like I'm going off and figuring out, can I build my own little one-shot blockchains for fun, just to like learn how it all works and understand the layers of the different stacks and how things are coming together, which is how my interest is in most things. How do they build it? How do we get in there and do that and improve it and build on it? Like the next 18 months or so, I'm really enjoying some of the things we're seeing in blockchain. I'm liking like the AT protocol on Blue Sky and ActivityPub, a lot of the federated stuff that's happening. Solid protocol that's getting pushed out is interesting. There's basically at Robot Semester, I'm trying to watch everything that's happening because it always ends up coming back around on how do we tie it all back together.
Yeah, it's funny. Ryan would tell you that his position is mostly business development and sales, but he's told me before that his true passion is actually getting into projects that need some help and solving some of the more difficult challenges over there at Robot Sea Monster. So hero that wears many capes, I think.
Yeah, I think Ryan's done about every job. Director of engineering, solutions engineer, solutions architect. Yeah, he's worn a lot of hats over here.
Yeah, usually the first person talking with people trying to figure out how can we help them take this big vision and turn it into something implementable, like practical. What are the edges? What are the edge cases? How do we build it? How do we make it scale? And how do we keep that spark that makes it special in the first place? So it's a lot of fun.
And we'll get into it. Like I know exactly what you're talking about because you were the guys in all of our AMAs. I talk about our two primary pieces of technology. The one that we have the patent pending for, which is the geospatial piece of the application, and the second is the minting on demand. And that was something that was brought forth by Robot Sea Monster. But you guys said that we should be exploring this, and this is something that we should look at. And I want to get into that. But before we get there, can we talk about some of the projects that Robot Sea Monster is most proud of? You know, what in your opinion, what are some of the coolest things that Robot Sea Monster has produced so far, and what were some of the unique challenges for each one of them?
Oh wow!
You got to talk about Knights of the Ether.
I'm going to talk about
Brooklyn Microgrid. Yeah,
I did. I like that. I like that we were getting involved early and seeing some of the challenges and how things were evolving. Another one we were doing quite a while back, which has really nothing to do with Web3, but I'm personally proud of it, was a game called Potion Portions, which was a trial educational game that was deployed, I believe, in Australia for testing. And basically, it was different ways to teach math, but it had like a real-time educator dashboard. I just really like it because we actually got to watch kids using it to learn and do a video call with them and talk to them. So I found it very satisfying. More recently, we worked on a game called Knights of the Ether that is Web3. It had a lot of challenges because it is giving real prizes. It's play to earn. Had to be entirely server authoritative. It was similar to like a Slay the Spire type game. And the architecture underlying it is extremely flexible. So in a traditional game, you just hard code your cards, get in there and build the game. And we built more of a card game engine that could be server authoritative, tie into Web3, and really have all the connections. So that was really a fun challenge. There's a narrative game that just launched recently. It's a little quaint game called Worlds Between Worlds that takes narrative and applies real time to it. So if you leave the game and come back, the world might have changed while you're gone and you can continue to explore the story. There's so many. Almost every project we do has some part of it that I'm really proud of. Even the ones that are just like, we want to build a web-based enterprise application or something like that. Because there's usually some challenge that's leading to the project that is just really interesting to overcome and figure out how do we put these pieces together.
So when somebody else asks you this question a year or two from now, you'll use MyGeoTokens. That'll be your go-to response for this. Yeah, so let's talk about MyGeoTokens. What do you like about the project? What drew you to the project? We've been building for a while now. Let's talk about MyGeoTokens for a bit. What excites you about it? I know that Ryan, you really can wrap your head around. You wrap your head around it for a long time. Daniel, I've known you for a little bit less time, but what excites you about MyGeoTokens, and what do you think are going to be some of the biggest challenges that we'll have to overcome as we continue to build here?
Yeah, to me, it's taking a bunch of things. I'm going to try to talk in 5 different directions because there's so many things about it that excite me. One of the things we originally talked about is how it relates to those augmented reality, almost like games. Like you get out there and you find different things in the world. So it's got this real world element to it that can really be fun. But to me, that ties it into a lot of traditional, I want to get a souvenir for my trip, or I want to get a piece of merch at a concert. There's so many different ways that the MyGeoTokens platform can be used. It's just got such a broad scope that it can be gamified. It can be made fun where people are collecting. And I think that it's, especially after some of the initial work we did, like with Mint on Demand, it created this system where they're like, it's just about catching the flashpoint to make it grow. The barriers to entry are low. The what is it for is obvious. Like as soon as you look at it and you start thinking about it, like I get this token because I happen to be at this stadium on this night and they're promoting this, and this is going to be something I can brag about or trade forever. Or, hey, I'm going on this remote trip and I'm going to this place where I can finally complete this set. So there's just so many opportunities for this to be used. And then the other stroke of genius is bringing it around with community powered, like people, depending on what tokens and how they are in the community, they can get out there and actually create new ways to use it. And so it's going to have this ability to grow and reach a point of kind of critical mass where it grows itself. So it just brings the Pokemon Go style gaming, but also social. It captures so many things on so many fronts that it's fun to think about. And every time I see it on one way to use it, I end up thinking of 3 or 4 more. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say I like all the different use cases, real world use cases, but I also like the connection to IRL. So for me, when I started my Web3/NFT journey, everything was virtual. You never met anybody. You didn't see any, you just heard their voice. And so then the first NFT NYC I went to after the pandemic, it was just like putting those faces with names, and the in-person things became almost like more valuable. So I love the fact that this is like you have to like go somewhere and do something. Do you know what I mean? It's like this opens up more of that like real world application of the technology. And then the patent pending technology is just obviously pretty fascinating. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, very cool. I think that's what a lot of people are excited about was the blending of the digital and the real. And we've heard a lot of good feedback of that. That's great answers, guys. Thanks for that.
I mean, that's it makes it so relatable, right? Like a lot of tokens, they make sense within a given community or what you're looking at within the Web3 space if you're in the know. With this, you could literally show it to almost anybody and they're going to understand what it is, why it's special, why they might want to be involved. So it just has such a broad appeal and the ability to be understood that, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, a broad appeal. So I've been saying if my dad can't be at a John Fogerty concert and pull down and collect an NFT, then we're not doing this right. I've been preaching this, and so this is the technology
That's
that's going to
awesome.
allow him to do. Yeah, the technology that's going to allow him to do that is this minting on demand. So I really wanted to spend some time on this because like I said, it's our second primary piece of tech with the platform as I see it. Ryan, can you walk us through minting on demand and what it is, what it means, and why you see it as so important to the platform?
Yeah, so it is the thing that makes it one of the things we've had to face Robot Sea Monster with Web3 gaming, especially, is the technologies don't align as well as you'd out of the box, and that means it's harder for people who don't understand Web3 to get involved because how do they get their wallet connected? It's hard to do the number of transactions that you would need for a game or a high scaling application at the speed you need to do it, and it's expensive. Sol's a little better off, but in general, over time, it becomes expensive, or it has. So with minting on demand, we're trying to tackle all of that. We're saying you can just sign up for MyGeoTokens. You don't have to go figure out a wallet and bring it in and connect it. You just start using it. If you want to put up a token, you're not actually minting them all on the spot. So there's not necessarily a ton of cost there. And if you want to buy it, you can mint it out to your wallet. You can keep it internal to the app and then mint it later. But when you're buying it, you're essentially creating yourself a token right out of the gate. So we're saving the time, we're saving the expense and the cost, and we're avoiding, unless it's required or requested by that user to mint click onto some different wallet, we're avoiding the potential delays and inefficiencies. So we can handle high scaling approaches like if you're at a John Fogerty concert and everybody's trying to get tokens all at once, and it's a whole thing. So it makes it very fast, very efficient, and still gives complete ownership of it. Like you can take your token and move it wherever you like.
Yeah, I've just become obsessed with this whole concept. Was grab it, use traditional ways of paying for it. You're essentially buying a file. We authenticate that file with some pretty
Mm-hmm.
neat tech, right? By embedding some metadata into one of these pixels of the image. And yeah, I love it, and I think it's absolutely key to my geotokens. Thanks for that summary there. I think we have, I don't know, I think I might have told you guys, but I think this is our Linda in the audience right now. But I see a big piece of the evolution of my geotokens is going to be the evolution of the map, the view of the world. And right when I saw Uber for the first time and I used Uber for the first time, I looked at their map and I said, oh, this map looks really cool. Like I like being in here and just looking at this map. So we're starting off pretty basic. We're starting off pretty simple. And yeah, and this is Linda is now going to be our geospatial advisor. Linda Stevens, she's an Esri OG. She was the chief marketing officer there at Esri for a period of time. And I love working with people that have marketing minds on top of tech, good tech background. So she's a part of the team now, and I'm really excited to see what she can do. I feel that one of the risks that we're going to have as we move forward, and it's a good problem to have because it means that people are using the platform and like to use the platform, is the spoofing of locations. And I this is something that I'm really hoping that Linda can help with. But let's just talk about where we are right now with the map and the drawing of the geofence. Like it's pretty neat how we've got this to a point so far where we can use our finger to draw a geofence on the phone, and even if we don't auto connect it, it'll auto connect and lock on. But maybe just talk about where the map is right now and where you see the map maybe being able to go. I want to see it 3D at some point.
Yeah, that's one of the first places we started when we started looking at the project. And the reason for that is when we were talking about the initial UI and planning it out, and we're starting at this kind of 3D approach. Here's the globe, and can we zoom in? And then it has to turn into a map that we can work with and mark on. So we started doing experiments around that. We've made a ton of progress. We've got a map where we can zoom in, we can find the location. We've adapted a whole bunch of tools to be able to draw and select areas and create the geofence at whatever scale you're at. We've also started tying that into backend so that we're capturing it. But essentially, that transition between 2D and 3D is not just the map, it's also the UI. So at a 3D, you've got pins, you've got what's showing in that 3D map environment. And as you zoom in and you get into that 2D kind of street view level where you can draw, the UI has to change for how it interacts with that. So we've done a lot of work around that and trying to get that right because it's one of the areas we identified early on as a potential risk. We wanted to make sure we could get it to feel right and lay that groundwork we need to build the rest of the app around. And I think it looks pretty good. It's working pretty well so far.
Yeah, I'm happy where we're at. I'm excited to keep the build moving along. We're playing a startup game, so this is a raised build, and excited to keep the project moving along with you guys. I'm very confident we picked the right dev partner for this. So thanks for everything so far, guys.
We're excited to get going. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks, Daniel. You guys gonna go to any events this year? Anything on the calendar for events either in the U.S. or outside?
Yeah, well, we'll definitely, I think several of us are going to GDC, Game Developer Conference. It's right in the backyard for me. I live in the Bay Area, and so does our CEO and founder. So we'll be there. And then as far as Web3 events, I've just basically been hitting NFT LA and NFT NYC for the past 3 years. So if I don't do that, I would be very sad. So I'm planning on going to both. LA is a lot easier, obviously, because it's an hour plane ride. But yeah, we'll definitely be there at both of those events.
Awesome. The ones that I have circled on my map right now are both in Singapore, and they're back to back. The Solana breakpoint,
Wow.
just
Yeah.
because I feel we need to be there with that community, and ideally as involved as possible. And then there's that token 49 that's
Yeah.
supposed to be really fun too.
Yeah, I have people trying to get me to go to Asia. I would love to do that. It's just the long haul. I got kids and
Yeah,
kind of
you and
live. Yeah. Yeah.
it takes about 3 days to adjust, and then 3 days to readjust when you come back home, and you're only gone for 6 days. You don't have
Yeah.
many normal days when you're over there.
Right, right. Oh yeah, the whole thing's a blur anyway.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to go to East Denver actually. I still haven't caught that yet, but maybe this year.
And you don't live in Denver though, do you, Daniel? You're in the
No,
Bay.
I'm in San Francisco Bay Area in the East
Yeah.
Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm super excited that this is like on Solana. Like this has really been picking up quite a bit. Like I've seen in my different circles and with my partner at Metivate, like he's super into we even at these NFT events, we're going to a lot of like soul type of events as well. So I'm getting on board. I was an ETH guy for like a couple years, and so I'm getting on board now. He's like he's onboarded me, staking my soul, my B soul. So I'm doing it.
Well, I think we were all ETH guys at some point. That's how I first came into crypto. Is my mentor said, "Hey, you should check out this Ethereum," and I think it was at $4.90 or something. And
Oh
and
wow.
I remember going to the website, and I read it, and honestly, I just did not understand it. I said, I just can't wrap my head around this right now. So I didn't do anything about it. And then eventually I got in at about $50, and that's how I got my start in crypto. But yeah, so I think we were all ETH people at some point. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about altcoins? Like, is there space for all these altcoins out there? Or is there a bunch of money to be made now? And then eventually there's only going to be 10, 20, 50 of these things? Or what are your thoughts on the
I
growth
mean,
market?
I think if you're a degen, so if you're degenning, yeah, have a blast. Like I would be doing that if I wasn't so busy with work because I've got my day job at Robot Sea Monster, a side job at Medivate, and it's like there's so many things, but you have to be like really on top of it if you're going to be trying to do anything with altcoins. But as we've seen now, like Solana, it's not going anywhere, right? So I love that. I feel like yeah, I think people will always be degenning, but I think for mass adoption we need like stability on the blockchain. There's so many different blockchains too that we're looking into as we are developing games like Avalanche and Arbitrum and just the optimism. Like it goes on and on. Then we continually. So I'm running into now. I'm going to a lot of like Web3 gaming conferences as well, so not just NFT conferences, but Web3 gaming conferences, and I'm being turned on to and introduced to all these different blockchains that are like, come build with us, and these different wallets that are like, come build with us, come build with us. So I have a lot of like strategic conversations with blockchains and wallets and Web3 companies that want us as developers to build with their tech. And now it's hard for us to say, okay, what should we do? We have so many different options. So it really has to like fit into place with a project that we're working on to make sense. But yeah, it's interesting.
Definitely room. It just depends on purpose of the coin and of the chain, right? So different, it's just like any other technology. There's different ranges of tech, there's different pros and cons to different chains. There needs to be room for advances, but also kind of having a stable centralized tech is important. So I think there's lots of room for altcoins and smaller chains for different purposes, be that coins or as a foundation for a particular app or group of apps. But you're still going to have your core, and each of them has their own ideology. So I like them. I like seeing how they push things, how they innovate, but sometimes they're just offshoots and it's just what they're doing.
Well, and I love the idea of NFTs being used, having actual value and utility now, right?
Yeah.
If they have great art on top of it, well, that's just a special bonus. But we're doing our Genesis Mint here on Thursday. We're super pumped about it. And what's really exciting is that the value and the utility that we're able to bake into the platform. And so for those of you on the call, we have, if you haven't heard this already, I apologize if you already have. I've been talking a lot about it recently, but we have 5 variations of Geo as our chief adventure officer, seen in several of the profile pictures of the people in attendance here. 5 variations. Our most rare is Lunar Geo. There's 33 of Lunar Geo. You get everybody that owns an NFT gets annual entry into annual travel voucher giveaways, obviously for a larger amount and with less people in the raffle for the more rare, the variation of Geo. We're going to be, we want to be scheduling drops on the map, on the platform itself. And the thing is that nobody's going to know except for MyGeoTokens when these schedules, when these people, these famous people potentially plan to drop these things around the world. We plan on publishing this schedule to our list or to our NFT holders. And then we have revenue share. So MyGeoTokens makes money in 3 ways, the platform. One is we take 20% commissions of anything dropped. The second is the royalties, 5% to the original dropper and 5% to MyGeoTokens. And the third is what we're calling the Collectors Club. But this is 5% of anything dropped gets auto deposited into the MyGeoTokens wallet. So if someone drops 100 NFTs in Central Park, New York, 5 of them are auto sent to the MyGeoTokens wallet to be managed by MyGeoTokens and the holders of the Genesis NFT. So we're giving up 20% of the Collectors Club to holders of the Genesis. And then now we've built the Super Geos. So there's 33 unique NFTs that we are giving out to anyone who comes into a Matrix gated Discord channel with each of the 5 variations. So the lunars are going to be hot. Everybody's going to want a lunar, but then everybody's going to want a Super Geo. And what we've decided recently is who is allowed to drop from their couch. This has been a big topic of conversation is, can I put something on the top of Mount Everest without actually being there? Can I drop something onto an island in the middle of the Pacific without actually being there and actually yourself being a green dot in the geofence that you create? But what we've decided to go with is the only people that are going to be allowed to drop from their couch are going to be the holders of the Super Geos. So we think that over time, it'll be the bigger brands, the marketing companies that want to adopt this ability as part of a larger marketing plays that are going to want these Super Geos and allow them to do this kind of thing. So we're pretty darn excited. We've been giving out whitelists to the community here as they work their way through some Zeely challenges or some games nights or just being active in the server. But we have that coming up on Thursday. And yeah, I'd love to see you guys there as well on Thursday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trevor, what am I missing anything here, buddy? Do you want to chime in with any questions for Robot Sea Monster?
I had one earlier, and then you guys answered it, but you asked the question, so I forget what it was now. Oh, I was going to ask what their favorite projects are and what the challenges that they faced in some of the projects, but they answered it pretty well. So,
you guys think we're making the right choice with Salana? We get asked a lot why you chose Salana, and for me, it's simple. It's transactions per second and cost per transaction.
Yeah.
That we're after. So, would you guys agree with that?
100%. Like, I know when we were first going through it, and you and I actually talked a little bit, you brought Solana to the table, and I went and looked at it, and it makes total sense. The speed and the transactions are the cost and the speed are the two things that really become problems with scalability. And Solana tackles both of those head on. And then you that with some of the architectural things we're doing that are pretty unique. And it just it enables the platform to scale to the amount that I think it actually can scale, which is that's the thing I'm most excited about. There's just so much potential for what MyGeoTokens can do. It's understandable, it is easy to access, and it's fun. So yeah, I think it's the right choice.
So that's the technical answer. But from the kind of, I don't know, community answer, I just think the Sol community is really strong and great timing because it's all the rage right now. So I'm happy that you went in that direction.
It worked out perfectly for sure. I know back in like October, November when it was starting to pump, it was the first one that started to pump, and I just kept pumping my fist. I said, "Oh, we chose the right one. We chose the right one."
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah, but Ryan, more on the back end, like the people that have been building our mint site, they have mentioned that mostly they have a lot of experience on the more on the ETH side of things, and they said that while Solana is cool, that the back end libraries have been a little bit more challenging for them. Do you find the same, and do you think that it's going to be like what is it like building on Solana versus building on Ethereum these days? If you can comment on that.
Yeah, so I know we've already tackled a little bit of it, and the team has found some paths forward, and that was pretty early on in the process to validate. I would compare it to almost any kind of tech. Like if you're working with something like React Native, I'm so nerdy on tech here. I don't know how useful this is for everybody. There are techs that are hugely popular and have massive communities and a million different ways to approach it, and they tend to be very opinionated but fragmented, right? So you'll get some features here and some there. And then there's communities that just don't have that range of approaches, but they have one that's known and understood. And there may be, because of the range, you have to like really wrap your head around it, but it means that there is a good way to do things. And I would say it's like that. So yeah, there's a little more to wrap your head around to understand what's happening, to take advantage of what Solana is providing. It's not as out of the box, here's 30,000 services that are going to do what you need. But at the same time, it is viable. And once you do it and you're aligned with kind of the thinking behind the tools, then it's just like working with anything else.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I know from like some of the other devs that I've worked with, if they're Solidity devs and then they have to go learn Rust, it's not like it's not that easy. Like you have to go learn Rust, right? So I can understand people having challenges with that, or at least ramp up to. I think once they get wrap their heads around it, it's fine, but definitely not
So
the
much
same thing.
better.
Yeah.
Rust is so much better. So it's a different thing. It's not made simple, but Rust is, from a developer perspective, it's better. It's got more functionality, more uses. It's easier to build a team around in the longer term. Got legs on it.
Daniel, what's your favorite NFT you've ever purchased?
That's a really good question. I guess my favorite NFT I ever purchased was like the third NFT I ever purchased, which was Justin Aversana parchment scroll, tarot scroll, physical tarot scrolls. So I bought an NFT in January of 20, maybe it was February of 2021, and I bought the physical tarot scrolls. And what was cool about that is that he gave away physical tarot scrolls when you bought the NFT, which was really cool. In fact, Metivate, we went and built a redemption app specifically for that project so that you could connect your wallet, prove that you own the NFT, and then submit your shipping address to the gallery. I just thought that was the coolest thing from an art standpoint. From a PFP standpoint, yes, I had a Bored Ape. Yes, I sold it too early. Whatever. That was my biggest like failure. But I loved Anonymize. I really love the Anonymize community. Super degen. And then the fact that Anonymize are fully on chain. So like base 64 code on chain, really cool. So I had 4, got rid of 2. I still have 2. And these are the things that like I just, man, like I round tripped them. I watched Anonymize go to 13 ETH and now it's like 0.2. So don't know why, but I was dedicated. So, but I really love that community. That community was awesome. And the quantum community that Justin Aversano started, the NFT photography community, I would go down to Santa Monica and LA all the time because it was such a great community. And I love NFT photography. And yeah, so I've done a little bit of P's, art, and tech. Kind of done it all.
Very, very cool. I think that there's a big opportunity for NFT photography with MyGeoTokens. Photography of exactly where you're taking the photos and dropping it right in that spot so that it's again blending the real world with the digital, right? In the sense that you can actually get down and see maybe what the artist was thinking or get inside their headspace of just because you're in the same surroundings, or they were painting in landscape and you can actually see the mountain they were painting. But I think there's a big use case there.
You're absolutely right. Justin Aversano is going around to 306 different locations, like, and taking photos like all over the world. And so I could totally see him maybe making something available to people that went to the same spot where he took those photos. Or yeah, that's actually a really great idea. Yeah, I just loved that community and I loved the art. It's really interesting. Unfortunately, Quantum didn't make it because that space was very expensive to keep in downtown Santa Monica. So they had to shut that down. But that didn't mean the NFTs they'll always be on the blockchain. So that's the beautiful thing.
Who's got money for that kind of overhead these days? Come on, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an office is not that appealing to me. Even making lots of money and having lots of staff.
Well, it was just like an event space. So they just did different gallery events, which was really cool. Like displayed on screens. So all different kinds of NFTs displayed on screens, which I've also enjoyed like in Miami. I think what NFT Now did at the Gateway, Miami Art Basel, not this past year, but the year before. That was awesome. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff with like NFT galleries that I'm super into just because you're able to appreciate art, digital art, but in a real place where you get to meet the artist and you get to meet other people. But then you have the provenance and you have the ownership of the NFT and things like token proof, where you would have to have an app to prove that you own the NFT in order to get into these parties around NFT LA or NFT NYC. It's like, oh yeah, you're part of the community. You've got to prove. And I like it as long as they do +1, right? If it's like you only get one entrance, I don't like it because it's like not everyone's going to necessarily own that specific NFT. But if you can bring your friend, I think it's a super cool thing to have like NFTs unlock access to things.
Yeah,
You're talking about utility. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. I love that too. All right, guys. Well, we're 40, 50 minutes in almost. thank you both for being with us here tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having us. Thanks for
Yeah.
hanging out, guys, in the
Yeah,
audience.
thanks.
Appreciate it.
Leave us with
Hopefully we were helpful.
where does what price point does Solana hit over the next 16 to 18 months? Give us your prediction.
Dude, 16 to 18 months. Oh my God.
Over the next
200 bucks. 200 bucks. Easy.
200?
No
200
problem.
tops out. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it tops out. I think we get there within the year.
Within the year. Okay.
Yeah. Drop your
What's the
guess
top?
in the chat.
What's the top out?
Oh man, I have no idea. But I think ETH goes back to 4,000 eventually, especially if they are going to greenlight these Ethereum ETFs, which I bought years ago, like as soon as they were available from Grayscale. And I lost it's like at 40% of the value that it used to be. So yeah, if ETH can go back to 4,000, I'm all for that. And maybe Sol at like 400. That would be good. I could see that.
Yeah, that would be good. That would
Yeah.
be good. Everybody that holding ETH is saying it better be going a lot higher than that.
Yeah, I'm just saying get back to where you were in November of 21, right?
Yeah.
Like if we can get back there, that was crazy times.
For sure. Ryan, what do you think? What's going to happen here over the next
Oh,
year?
wow. I typically would defer to Daniel on that. I'm more interested in the metadata behind the tokens. But I don't know. I think that from a technological perspective, it has what it takes to support a whole lot more. So as apps like MyGeoToken are coming out and showing what Solana can do, it could potentially drive a lot of interest and take it real high. So we'll see.
We shall see. We shall see. All right, gentlemen. Well, I think we'll call that a night. Thanks again so much from MyGeoTokens Community, and we'll be talking lots to each other.